I got to play Drag and Drive, Nintendo's new wheelchair basketball-like game for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I have some thoughts. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Steve Saylor. I'm blind, and if you're wondering how I can be able to play video games if I'm blind, you can be able to check out the video here or click the link in the description down below to see exactly what I see when I'm playing video games. So thank you so much to Nintendo Canada for inviting me out to the Nintendo Switch 2 experience last week in Toronto. I got to play a bunch of different games. If you want to be able to check out my thoughts on all of what I saw, I've already put out a few videos this week, and I still got a few more to go. I have a handy playlist that I've been able to put everything together. Either click here or the link in the description down below. I would appreciate if you can check them out, because I've got already videos on the hardware, Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and today is all about Drag and Drive, and I still have Metroid Prime 4 and Cyberpunk to come. So stay tuned for that, and make sure to subscribe so you can be able to get these videos when they come out. All right, let's talk about Drag and Drive. This one, okay, we're gonna go on a bit of a journey. I remember when this was announced at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, and I got excited because it felt like that it was Nintendo's first disabled representation game ever, and being able to like focus on a gameplay of wheelchair basketball felt like it was a cool step forward for disabled players, disabled representation, and potentially accessibility for Nintendo. I got excited. I was a little bit skeptical about. They said you had to use mouse controls in order to be able to kind of push yourself forward on the wheelchair, which, you know, I was like, okay, that's a cool mechanic for the mouse feature of the Switch 2. I was hoping they'll see some accessibility when I got a chance to be able to play it. Now, I have to give some caveats before I get started on what I actually played. I wasn't able to change any of the settings, so I don't know what was there, what can be enabled, what can be disabled. Also, I do not know if there is going to be alternate controls. I asked, they did not know offhand, but that was just a limitation of the demo itself. These demos were designed for the Switch 2 experience and not full representations of the game. So this is not entirely going to be potentially Nintendo's fault, because all of what I could say from here on out could be moot, because it might already actually be in the game and I just don't know it yet. However, I do have a gripe to pick with Drag and Drive, mainly because, like I said, there was no way for me to be able to play this game with alternate controls. You had to play this with the mouse, which kind of is a potential issue for Nintendo Switch 2 experiences, because I did actually see someone with a wheelchair or in a wheelchair not necessarily playing this Drag and Drive, but at least at the same experience I was at. So I can only imagine that there has been other folks in wheelchairs who potentially might have more mobility issues with their hands, that they may not been able to play a game like this that is representative of them, of being in a wheelchair and playing and being able to play basketball. I will say it is probably if there is no alternative controls that can help motor disabled players play this game, this might be the biggest miss for Nintendo in its entire history. And I'm not saying that lightly. We've always kind of talked about Nintendo not necessarily designing for accessibility in mind. We've always kind of thought that they do some unintentional accessible design in their games that make some of their games or their first party games a little bit more accessible, but not necessarily designed with disabled players in mind. This being a game where you are in a wheelchair and you're playing basketball, something that is so direct to disabled players, and if they don't have alternate controls and the only way to use it is with the mouse, this will be, that's basically saying, hey, look, people in wheelchairs. There's a game about you, but sorry, you can't play it. Like, that to me is such a, like, a, I don't even, like, I was about to say missed opportunity, but it's not even a missed opportunity. This is just a complete missing the point altogether. We've had games that basically are designed, like, or that have either blind characters or some disabled representation, and they're not accessible to those players. Like, we've seen that time and time again. The representation within the game is kind of subtle, and it's not really fully, so it's kind of like, it's like, oh man, that would have been really great if they actually were able to take that extra step and be able to make that more accessible for those players. The difference between those games and this is that in those games, being disabled or having a disability or seeing a disability in a game is not generally part of the gameplay. It's not the main part of the gameplay. Whereas with Drag and Drive, you're playing wheelchair basketball. There is no other, there's no other type of gameplay. It's not like you get to switch to being just a person not in a wheelchair and get to play basketball. That is the point. You literally, and even the mouse mechanics, it is mimicking you actually, if you were in a wheelchair and you're actually pushing yourself forward or backwards while driving a wheelchair. This is the most direct disabled representative game that we've seen, and if Nintendo does not come through with alternate controls at launch, and I'm talking, they could announce this as basically a future update, and if they say it's because of technical reasons they had, I'll give them a tiny pass for that. But if you're designing the game from get-go to be wheelchair basketball, and you don't think about disabled players potentially wanting to play the game, not only is, I would say, Nintendo clueless or just don't care about people's disabilities, they just thought it's a cool mechanic. We can make the people pretend they're in wheelchairs. But that's the point, is that they're making people pretend to be in wheelchairs instead of actually for people who are in wheelchairs. Again, caveat being that I don't know if there's alternate controls. I hope there is. If Nintendo, if you're listening, if there isn't, this is going to be the biggest miss that you've ever had in your entire history of your company. And that's saying a lot, because I know your history is very long. With that being said, I did enjoy my time playing Drag and Drive. It did take a little bit of extra time for me to be able to learn how to properly be able to steer and how to be able to move forward and backward with the chair. I felt that the controls were a little bit more sensitive, a little too sensitive for me, and I hope that maybe there's adjustability for for that sensitivity in the game, because I felt that I was trying to be able to go to move forward, but I always kept finding myself kind of like drifting a little bit either to the left or to the right because I wasn't hitting the motions straight on. And I was hoping that I could be able to adjust that kind of, or learn how to adjust to that in my own play style. But for whatever reason, even during when I had enough practice at it and I was actually in an actual game, there were many times where I would try to go straight because I could see a person with a ball, and I know if you'd be able to get close to them, you could be able to knock the ball out of their hands. I was trying to do that, and every time I did, I would always miss, or I wasn't quick enough in order to be able to react to turn to be able to kind of keep making sure that I was going straight on. So that but I will say beyond that, I did have fun. I was enjoying being able to, once I kind of got used to it, when I got into a game, I was able to do pretty well. I actually got, I think, 2 or 3 baskets. 2 for sure. 3, I'm not 100%. I can't remember on. I have to look back at the footage. But I basically kind of helped my team win because I was able to get those points in because I had a little bit of practice. So with a little bit of practice, this game can be quite fun. And using the mouse controls, it is pretty smooth. The haptic feedback does make you feel like that you are moving in a wheelchair type device. Nintendo, I think, I heard it called a vehicle at an experience instead of a wheelchair. So that's what also gives me pause. But I hope that, it does feel like, here's the thing, when you are moving forward or backward, it does feel like that you are pushing a wheel forward, and you definitely feel that in the haptics using the mouse controls. Other than that, there is no real other buttons to be able to push or that you need to push on the like. It's really just the motion itself, because even when in order to be able to even when you have to shoot for a basket, you do have to lift up your hand and actually do the throwing motion towards the basket in order for you to be able to even be able to score points. So that in and of itself is kind of accessible to a certain degree, because you're not having to hit any buttons. But again, if you can't do any of the motion controls, then you're kind of stuck. Now, granted, also, I wasn't able to try whether or not you can be able to use the mouse controls on your legs, but I have seen in other games, including like Metroid Prime, I've seen some folks basically test that out, and they were able to play with relative ease. So you don't have to necessarily have a hard surface in order to be able to play on. They just had that at the experience to kind of make the most optimal play experience for most people. Again, going back to for motor disabled players. Anyway, I think this could potentially be a really fun game, and for the Switch 2, again, minus the accessibility stuff aside for a second, I think this could be fun, and I think that folks can have fun with this game. Will you want to be able to continue to be able to learn how to play it and get better at it so you can be able to become competitive at it? I don't know. This may be one of those Nintendo games that basically get launched with the system as kind of a showcase for its new features and doesn't really land with the players, and no one really plays it. I hope that this isn't the case, because I feel like that this game deserves attention, especially because of its disabled representation. But again, it's like if disabled players can't play it, then what's the point? But also, if other people don't jive with it or vibe with it, why did I say jive? Well, what am I from the 70s? If they don't vibe with it, then this game could also be kind of dead on arrival, and probably no one will look back on it in the Switch 2 being like, remember Dragon Drive? Yeah, that didn't really hit, did it? So I hope that's not the case, because this looks like it could be a fun game for a lot of players. Oh man, I just hope that I really hope that when Nintendo puts this out, or whenever I actually get my hands on the full game, that this entire video is completely pointless. And if it is completely pointless, I will delete this video. If it is completely pointless because Nintendo did not put alternative controls, if you are watching this to the end and this video is still here, it's because Nintendo didn't do what they should have done. I'm sorry. I love Nintendo. I love being able to experience all of what Nintendo has. I love my Switch. I can't wait to get my hands on the Switch 2. I can't wait to be able to play all the games I played at the Switch 2 experience. But if this game does not, I know I'm going backwards and forwards. I'm basically repeating myself at this point. But man, oh man, I really do hope that that Nintendo doesn't screw up this bad. I really do hope that. Anyway, this video kind of seems to be more of a rant than necessarily a gameplay showcase. But I hope at least you're able to get some information out of it. But I don't like ranting like this. I really don't. I want to talk about how cool games are and how cool accessibility is. But I gotta say what I gotta say. I can't just let it slide. So anyway, hopefully Nintendo sees this video and can be able to take it as as at least some sort of constructive criticism, than necessarily I'm basically saying I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. There we go. The accessibility dad is coming out again. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. All right, that's going to be it for me. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments down below. And that's going to be it for me. Tune in next time, and I'll have a video probably about Metroid or Cyberpunk. There'll be links somewhere on this screen. Anyway, take care. Have a good one. And as always, I remain obediently yours. Make sure to subscribe too. Anyway, bye.